Hopefully things are going well for you guys. As for me, let's roll the intro.
Welcome, the Gamer Man's Lounge. Awaken to play.
Now, by the time I am recording this, we're already in the fall season. The fall season showed up, said, hey, I'm here, go get your pumpkin spice latte. But then the summer season was like, excuse me, I'm not done yet. Okay, and then threw some harsh words and then shoved the fall season out the way. And we got a few hours till midnight, and we're already in the 1st of October. Okay, there's that. And then last week we just had an excessive heat week. So, yeah, looks like we'll be getting iced pumpkin spice lattes. So, yeah, what's up? Okay. When did this happen? I'll check the report by the Labs Lounge. Roll the intro for Video Game Classics.
Gaming of today is taking a crap. Might as well step back and go retro. Video game preservation is a big damn deal. All the games you missed out in the past. Let's take a look at all the treasures on carts and discs. Maybe someone will bring them to today for a second chance. But hey, this is Insert Channel Name here, and welcome to the archival of games of the past. Let's go retro with Video Game Classics. Just so you know, I had to go through the mental gymnastics of coming up with this intro. So for crying out loud, please appreciate it.
So you're telling me he has no knowledge of this character, and yet she showed up? Okay, you know what, whatever. Oh, okay, you know what? I'm in the middle of doing something, so I gotta... Anyway, before ending up on Microsoft's wing, because business-related stuff, under Microsoft's wing before business-related stuff, Rare had been known for developing the Donkey Kong Country games on the SNES, for example. That is the one that I most remember. If I do remember right, they did work on 007 GoldenEye. Okay, yes, 007 GoldenEye. There's Perfect Dark. Okay. And, yeah. But they have been known for a fighting game. That's right. They wanted to do its own thing rather than just be a Mortal Kombat clone. Yes, it does have its finishers, but no, it just wants to be its own interesting thing when it comes to fighting games. They want to basically go out the box, and the result was Killer Instinct. Welcome to Killer Instinct, a way for developer Rare to make their way into the fighting game genre. Home of the Ultra Combo, but supposed to come out to your home after arcade debut on the Nintendo Ultra 64, but got ported to the Super Nintendo. More on that later in the video. However, they somehow got the idea to port the game to the Game Boy. Okay. Well, some reason they thought this would be an idea, but anyway, I would worry more about the arcade and Super Nintendo versions. As a matter of fact, if you can get your hands on the arcade version, you might want to do so. It is the best way to go. There are ways of accessing the arcade version, such as through the Xbox version of Killer Instinct 2013 and the arcade 1-Up cab. Otherwise, you can access the Super Nintendo version through the Nintendo Switch Online's retro library. The lore involves Ultratech, a company profiting off of, well, how chaotic the world really has become. They decided that it would be a brilliant idea to host a fighting tournament that would also involve their shenanigans, and for some reason, there seems to be a warlord and a dangerous being involved. His name is Idol. Idol and Ultratech are going to be problems. That said, the goal here is to win the tournament and kick Idol's bitch ass. Be careful, he is a douchebag who can self-heal, in which that shit got nerfed in the Super Nintendo version. From what I found out, unless there is a chance it is still there, should you dare go up a difficulty.
You do have 10 opponents to fight off, and then you face the big bad, and win the tournament upon wiping the floor instead of Idol wiping the floor with you.
Oh, once you get the hang of the gameplay, you're in for a good time. Just master your combos, get the hang of the combos, get as much time as you can. If you want to practice on the SNES version, go ahead and do that. It's up on Nintendo Switch Online, pretty much good. But I will go ahead and warn you that there could be a difficulty spike, and the CPU opponents could be formidable when you're playing on the arcade version compared to the console version. Seem to notice that. So let's get right on going.
The roster for Killer Instinct involves a ninja named Jago, a literal skeleton who happens to be spinal, a fucking dinosaur who is named Riptor, Chief Thunder looking for his brother, Saberwolf, the werewolf, Glacius, the ice alien, Cinder, the game franchise's own Human Torch, Bjorkid, the hot secret agent with the word hot written on her outfit, TJ Combo, the heavyweight boxer, and Fulgore, the killer robot. I think I got everybody. Oh yeah, there is a hidden playable character being Idol. No surprise for fighting games to have the boss character playable and hidden. There's always a catch to that. Each character has their own stages and theme songs. There are extra stages that are hidden for single player, but will be accessible when it comes to PvP. Killer Instinct utilizes a 6-button layout for light, medium, and heavy attacks. Killer Instinct is home of the Ultra Combo for a reason. It is not only known that you can end the match with an Ultra Combo, but this shows that combos are a bigger thing than you ever think when it comes to the game. You have your openers, your autos, your linkers, and enders to keep in mind about. And when it comes to the structure of the combo especially, when you are pulling off your combos, be aware of combo breakers where your combo can be interrupted and can spell disaster. Combo breakers can be rewarding alongside being a way of saving your own ass from an ass whooping if you pull it off successfully. Consult your character move lists and guides to get the hang of their combos and special attacks. You have a selection of finishers to end off your match with a bang. You have yourself the danger move, the game's very own fatalities, if you put the opponent in the danger state by, depleting the red bar. Ultimates in which you pull off a fatality during a combo, and the Ultra Combo, which is a rapid, unbreakable, and devastating combo that is known to end the match in the instant, without putting any opponent into the danger state, so be careful. Oh, that reminds me, this is where I will go ahead and finally bring it up. The game has a unique way of rounds. You get a green bar, in which if it depletes, it will transition to the red bar, in which the match will end if someone's red bar is depleted, and that someone is placed in the danger state, giving the fighter a chance to pull off a finisher, unless that fighter has pulled off an ultimate or ultra. Almost forgot, you can finish with a humiliation by activating it while the opponent is in danger state to make them dance as long as you still have your green bar. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I did notice something where people can get themselves out of a danger state. I noticed where I had enemies leave the danger state and make a recovery, so be careful.
Oh, and quick heads up, if you fuck up on your finisher, that gives your opponent the chance to break out a stun and go for like a second chance at you. So, be careful. I'm just saying.
The game has some glitches from here or there, whether the arcade version or Super Nintendo version. However, the AI can be formidable if not careful, making the single-player run to get challenging. Here is where I say you might want to play the arcade version way more. The Super Nintendo port has a serious case of cut content and nerfed versions of levels. This is accountable of the limitations of the Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo version nerfs the stages, stage fatalities, and animations. Not only that, there are missing fatalities and conditions for fatalities that are different compared between the Super Nintendo and the arcade versions. So, if the game was ported over to the Nintendo 64 instead, we would have seen a better result since the specs of the Nintendo 64 was more suitable enough for Killer Instinct
So that can be the thing. The decision for the Super Nintendo version, that I don't know why make that in the first place. This seems to be a rushed decision. So if you were to access the arcade version, you could say the arcade version will leave you spoiled, but it would have been for the best in terms of console ports should they stick to their Ultra 64 plan. Going back to the Super Nintendo version, you do get practice mode to practice moves and combos. However, the controller layout seems to be strange, putting the quick attacks on the shoulder buttons. To be fair, it is recommended to start openers with heavy attacks and link into medium and then try to avoid quick attacks due to effectiveness. That said, if you got an arcade stick and access to the arcade version, I would move more to that area. That said, my third problem is why not port to the PC version of Killer Instinct 2013 when it comes to Killer Instinct Arcade, as well as the game's cloud version. And why is Code Mystics, who is involved with the arcade one-up version, not talking to Microsoft and Rare about getting the arcade version, in which they remastered, already available on Windows and Xbox? And let's not forget about the Switch, for example, because they have been going multi-platform for some of their published games lately, without need for Killer Instinct 2013. Hopefully, after the time this video is done and dealt with in the middle of summer of 2024, something has already happened, and that happens to be good news. Seriously, every time I get tempted to get an Xbox Series X, there seems to be availability shenanigans, and shenanigans involving Microsoft and Xbox, and I end up thinking twice. Hell, given the small amount of room I have in both of my entertainment centers, it seems I might as well just go for a Series S, but then again, shenanigans. My ranting aside, the design of the stages are great and ambitious. The music gets really addicting when it comes to listening to the soundtrack, okay? As a matter of fact, someone was well aware of that. So when it came to the Super Nintendo versions, they decide, hey, let's add in the Killer Cuts CD carrying arranged versions of the soundtrack. The gameplay is fast-paced, frantic, and addicting, okay? Especially when it comes to how rewarding it gets in terms of mastering combos, mechanics, and skills. The game's challenge factor is great. I have nothing but good things to say about Killer Instinct altogether. However, despite my issues with the Super Nintendo port idea, the Super Nintendo version, after all, despite its drawbacks because of the system limitations, it still stands strong. It does its best to be as good as the arcade version, and makes great ideas for working around such limitations. Credit where credit's due. The Super Nintendo port is actually great, and I can see why everyone enjoys the Super Nintendo port. Whether you enjoy the Super Nintendo version or the arcade version, you are bound to have a great time. Killer Instinct. I played that throughout childhood, but at most of the time when it comes to Killer Instinct, I would end up listening to the included Killer Cuts CD way more compared to the game until I got the hang of the game a little bit more, and that's how things went. But I ended up getting the game again later when it turns out that I lost the SNES copy of the game. So I had to buy a brand new SNES copy of Killer Instinct. Yeah, shenanigans ensures. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I got hooked up when it came to the arcade versions, and there was like the arcade version of Killer Instinct 2 when I showed up at a nice little place where it had like an arcade and then rides, and it would be next to a mall. And it would be very interesting here. Yes, I know, I am trying my best to cut it short, but with that totally said, that is all, and I will be looking forward to you in the next video. Peace out. Oh, so you think it's the balance that did that?